about one of my favorite puffballs in video games, Kirby. And of course, the Kirby that we all know today is not how he actually started off. But, you know what? Before we get to the game that we all know and love, let's just start off with the game that he started.
We begin with Kirby's Dreamland for the Game Boy. This is Kirby's first game before the craziness that happened today. It's a very simple game to go from point A to point B. At the end it contains some sort of boss to destroy. For the story, King Dedede and some of his followers have stolen all of Dreamland's food to be some sort of fat ass that he is today. He also stole the sparkling star, which of course used to harvest them for some reason. Anyway, Kirby set off to reclaim both the food and the sparkling stars and teach that king a lesson. So that's all for the story. This is crazy that the only parts of the story is about a giant pink marshmallow to defeat an obese penguin who stole all the food to get even more sick. For curious thought, I wonder how this will look like in my opinion. Yikes! I wish I didn't mention this again. Again, the controls are very simple. The D-pad controls Kirby left and right. Holding up makes him float in the air for a few seconds, which is better than jumping. Speaking of which, you jump with the simple press of the A button. Holding B will do Kirby's traditional move in the entire series, his inhale. He sucks up enemies and devours them, except when he actually can do the copy ability. This means there's nothing to talk about the enemies, except for the bosses. Green Greens is a land with big grasslands and forests. Their boss, Wispy Woods, is just pathetic. All you do is suck up the apples he drops and chuck it right back at him. Blah! And I say blah because he's too easy. Castle Lololo is a haunted castle owned by the Lolos, who are actually based off of another HAL game, The Adventures of Lolo series on the NES. I don't own any of these games, so I don't know when I'm going to plan to actually review these in the future. Anyway, the Lolos are the main bosses in the world. That couldn't be even more obvious. Float Islands is a chain of small tropical islands, including Dark Cavern and a pirate ship. Is there any gold around on the ship? Oh, whatever. Cibola is another easy boss. All he does is just spin around and shoot out of his cannon penis. Jeez, I can't believe I said that. Bubbly Clouds is a level taking place above the clouds, obviously. Krakow brings in a good challenge, and I say he's one of my favorite bosses in this game. Why can't all bosses be like this in this game? Dedede's castle is just pathetic. Kirby has to fight all the game's previous bosses again, each time going through rooms based on the stage of the boss that appeared, and then we can fight the main boss of the game, King Dedede. He can take a big challenge because he has more energy than you! Just take your time and you'll be just fine. Did it rhyme there. This game is actually a good start to the franchise. It evolves on how Kirby can actually do and more. The gameplay, even for a Game Boy, is a bit stiff, but can be adjusted over time. The soundtrack is memorable for classic gamers. Mostly the Green Greens theme, because it's even more memorable. For that, this game is really good for your collection. Now let's move on. Now for the featured presentation, Kirby's Adventure for the NES. The story starts off with Kirby taking a nap, but Kirby had no dreams. A truly unusual event in Dreamland. Of course, with Dreamland, how can you not have dreams? Kirby decides to check out the Fountain of Dreams, where all dreams spring from, to see if anything bad has happened to it. Upon his arrival, he finds King Dedede bathing in the waters. Oh god, why can't this fat ass do anything normal? Anyway, King Dedede has broken the star rod, the power source of the fountain, into 7 pieces, gave 6 pieces to his friends, and 1 keeping on himself. Kirby decides to track down the fragments and restore peaceful sleep in order to Dreamland. I'd say this is a better story in Kirby's Dreamland because it's more focused on it. The game got every mechanic that is from the Game Boy game, but with one of the most genius ideas to bring into the series, his copy ability. Kirby can suck up any enemy that has an ability, and he actually copy it, with the power of the B button. There are some enemies that have some abilities in the Game Boy game, but they just don't do jack shit because they don't do nothing, because the copy ability wasn't even invented until this game came out. So each ability has its own power and its own breed. First off, let's do with the enemy roll call, and I'm gonna warn you, there's a lot of them to count on. Blipper, Bounder, Brodo-Burr, Broom Hatter, Cappy, Coner, Explosive Coconut, Glunk, Roto, Kaboo, Poppy Bros Jr., Scarfy, Shotsos, Mr. Slippy, Squishy, Tweezy, and Waddle Dees. These enemies do not have any copy abilities, just like how they did in the original Kirby Dreamland. But there are some enemies that have copy abilities. Let's name them up. Waddle Doo is the leader of the Waddle Dees, and his ability is Beam. He can shoot a beam that while going up to down. That's cool. Sword and Blade Knight gives you the sword, and is a lot of people's, including myself, most favorite weapon to use. I wouldn't say it's my most favorite, but I'd say it's really good. Sir Kibble is another knight, but his ability is his cutter blade. Ooh, juicy! Twister resembles a small green top with yellow floating arms. He also turns Kirby into a tornado of destruction! Hothead is notable as being one of the first few enemies Kirby has ever crossed through in the beginning of the game and some of his journeys. His fire ability reminds me of Bowser's Fire Breath from the Smash Bros. Series. Flamer resembles an eyeball of some sort. He turns Kirby into the fastest fireball alive! Bomber crashes. That's it, he crashes. And that's what the ability gives you, and that's it. Chili is a killer snowman with his freezing power. Kirby's copy ability from him is Freeze. It changes his color blue and he freezes anyone in contact. That's really good. Starman is a rare enemy to get in the entire game, and his ability High Jump will get you going up skyrocketed. Sparkies are teardrop-shaped blob-like creatures with light green skin. His ability is Spark. You can flash a lot, and of course it can destroy any enemy in contact. And I gotta say, that looks cool. Wheelie is a tire-shaped enemy that is currently in a few sources of the wheel ability. I love this ability. Out of all of them, I can roll even faster, and of course it helps me out in some levels. Rockies are very slow. Their behavior is simple. They will try to crush Kirby. Stone Kirby is one of the most traditional moves for Kirby. Well, of course, I'll get to that later. Naughty is the worst enemy in Nintendo history. He puts you to sleep in one suck. And don't tell me anything from the anime version because he sleeps almost through the entire episode!
Kirby!
A parasol is a harmless weapon in the entire game. You can also stab people with the tip of it. And I barely use it because I only need it to float down from the ground. Cool Spook only appears in dark rooms, which of course is a limited ability. Light is only used to light up in dark caves. Seriously, why would I need this for the rest of my time? Walkie is a walking microphone. He gives you the power of the mic, and this is very powerful. 3 strikes and they're all out. Togezo resembles a Spiny from the Mario series. And of course it provides Kirby with the Needle ability. Better give me a Koopa shell while I'm at it. I wonder what that looks like. Oh wait, it does look like that in the anime. I'm past with that. Laser Ball is an orange ball with thighs, which will try to attack Kirby, and it gives you the ability of the shitty laser at him. Look at this, it's pathetic! Penji is the most prominent of the penguin enemies in the series. Ice is like Freeze, but with an ice breath instead. UFO is a rare enemy / power-up. Nothing else to say. Bubbles is ridiculous. Just a ball that jumps? Plus with the worst copy ability in the entire game. I am not going to talk about it, it's too embarrassing. Swallowing 2 enemies at once will cause them to mix. For a casino wheel, it chooses a random item at will. Also, there's 3 abilities that I didn't even talk about. Hammer, backdrop, and throw. This is only for the mid-boss that comes through. Most of them give me the abilities that I already talked about, but only 3 are very rare, like Bugsy that gives me a backdrop, Rolling Turtle will give me a throw, and Bonker the gorilla that gives me a hammer. They're just minor stuff, no biggie. Now that we got that out of the way, let's move on. This game is a bit longer than the other one because there's new worlds to discover. Vegetable Valley is a rather simplistic level that takes place primarily inside a vast forest and with some wooden treetops. Although with lakes and plains, it can be a little distant from some levels. Wispy Woods is back and of course he's even more pathetic. There are 2 ways to destroy him. Just chuck the apples just like you did in the last game, or get any ability and just spam the heck out of him. To me, I choose the sword. So juicy. Ice Cream Island is alluded to the stage's collectible ice cream figures. Description as another tropical paradise. Payroller can draw about a total of 8 different things during the battle. Each one has a different ability to use. And it's also one of the greatest glitches that I can perform. Let me just show you how it works. Just make sure that paint roller is at half energy. And also you have to paint walkie. The walking microphone, of course. It'll give you the mic ability. And of course, you use it twice to make sure his energy is very low. Once you get up to the last shot, make sure you jump to the center, use the last microphone, grab the star rod, and you can get unlimited microphones. Just be careful, if you lose it, it'll be gone forever. So, you could actually get rid of it if you're bored with it with the select button. Yeah, I did that. Butter building is like a giant building that goes up, like a tall skyscraper of some sort. Mr. Shine and Mr. Bright are a duo resembling a moon and a sun, and a recurring boss from the series. Since Mr. Shine is a moon, he sometimes actually does a wheelie impression and does a meteor shower. Mr. Bright is even more hot than my fire abilities. Yeesh! Grape Garden is a sky level. Alright, timeout. Oh, what's up with these food themes in the world? Were the programmers actually hungry when they actually got this game developed? What's next? Yogurt Garden? Oh, god damn it! Anyway, Krakow is back, and of course with the power of the high jump ability, it can make it easy. Anyway, Yogurt Yard is like a frosted mountain level with some caves and waterfalls to be put in the mix. Happy Mole is not a mole. He's not. He's a giant freaking robot! Okay, how many times do I have to scream around here? Orange Ocean doesn't even have to make me get hungry. All it is just a pirate theme level. It's also where we can have a one-on-one fight with our good friend, Meta Knight. Also, I didn't even mention about him. Meta Knight actually helps out throughout the entire game with one of the rarest items in the game, the Hyper Candy. It's mostly an invincibility move, but it's actually good to use. Also, the funniest part about this fight is when you slice Meta Knight's mask in half. And that makes him go around like a chicken. That is very funny. Now that we're situated through all this, we get up to the final spot, which is Rainbow Resort. It's intentionally covered with ice and frost of some sort. Also, it's really cool that the last level is a throwback to the Kirby's Dreamland on the Game Boy, with the whole scenery to be in black and white instead of Kirby. Half the enemies have no copy ability. Also, they actually have the green theme from the original game. I'm not talking about, like, say, making a remix on the NES. No, they actually took it from the game. Now, towards the end of the game, we get the fight that we've been waiting for with King DDD. He actually behaves just like in the original game, but with some new moves into the mix. So, just be patient and you'll be fine. Unlike the other bosses, he actually takes even more hits than the others. Yeah, his health drops a little bit lower than the others. If you actually pay attention throughout the entire game, you might know what I'm talking about. And now, we get to the final stretch, the Fountain of Dreams, where Kirby accidentally released the main boss of the entire game, Nightmare. And the only way to fight him is right up at Popstar's moon or some sort. I don't even know what that is. So we get the final ability, which is only in for the final boss, which is the Star Rod ability. And for this, we have to spam the heck out with the attack button with this little ball right here. And after you're done with that, Nightmare reveals his true form, and of course there's only one way you have to attack him. You have to reveal himself from under the cape, and that's where you have to blast him. You can actually destroy him with a simple spin, or you can just shuck those stars from the Star Rod. I use the Star Rod stars to actually attack him because it gives him more damage. So after the destruction, we actually see the moon exploded just like a crescent moon, and we get another great text ending. Let's take a look. Kirby fought to find the Star Rod, but King DDD did not mean any harm. Okay, at least he learned a lesson, that bad bastard. Bad Dreams has invaded Dreamland. A nightmare came to spring and tried to cause the pain to the people. DDD foiled the nightmare by hiding the Star Rod from him. DDD helped Kirby beat the nightmare. Now everyone's dreams will return. Tonight, Dreamland will sleep well. And the credits are supposed to be how the boss fights are actually supposed to come in. And of course I already know that you only have to use the sword against Meta Knight because that's what it's all about! Overall, this is a great game. The bosses are good, the level designs are good, the music is good, and what could I say? Everything is good in this game. Also, there's another thing I forgot to mention, and that is the mini-games that are in the hub worlds. First is Crane Fever. It's a crane machine, but with 2 Kirbys to grab. To my opinion, get the fat one, because it gives you 2 extra lives. Sometimes this thing actually cheats when it decides to have a grip or not. Alright, almost done. What? Come on! Egg Catcher is a crazy game. You just hold A to actually catch the eggs in your mouth while trying to avoid the bombs. I can never eat all the eggs because I sometimes accidentally eat a bomb. What can I say? I'm not really good at this one. And the last one I have to say is Quick Draw. It kind of reminds me of Wild Gunman. Yeah, another great NES game. I don't know when I'm going to get to that one. Well, you just press the A button at the right time and then you win. All this game actually mentions is fast reflexes. One time I actually defeated all of them, but right now I actually slowed down so I can't even defeat them all. And yes, there's also an arena that you can actually get any weapon that you want, but that's not really important. With all that, another game that could be in your collection. I can't turn these games down. I really love the series and all its different ideas. For the 20th anniversary, they packaged 6 of the greatest Kirby games in one disc for the Nintendo Wii, like the Kirby's Dreamland trilogy, Kirby's Adventure, Kirby Superstar, and Kirby 64 on the N64. You guys might be thinking, why didn't I review these games on this disc? Well, I like to be authentic with my reviews, and I like to actually do it with the original copies. Plus, Kirby's Dreamland is way more fun to play on the Game Boy. Just trust me guys, I kinda like the repackages and re-releases, but I don't like reviewing those. I like doing it with a real deal. Well, that's besides the point.
Alright, if you excuse me, I'm gonna try to beat Kirby's Adventure in a no-death run.